Oh, hello there. Do you often find yourself struggling on the putting green, leaving yourself with way longer putts than you need to, trying to force the same shot into the green over and over again? Genuinely frustrated that you can't capitalize on your drives? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've answered yes to any or all of those questions, then I'd like to formally welcome you to Approach Academy, presented by Prodigy. And in today's lesson, we're gonna learn how these cones could save you from all of that stress. But before we dive in, we have to ask the most important question of the day. How are you doing today, Liam? Are you having a good one? Ladies and gentlemen, you heard in the intro, we're gonna be starting a series that is all about approaches. Now, of course, we have to define what is an approach inside of disc golf. An approach, for our definitions, is any non-full power tee shot that is trying to get the disc in or as close to the basket as possible. It's important that we say non-full power tee shot because there are times where a tee shot can be so close and so short that often it feels like you're throwing an approach shot. Ergo, any form of an approach shot could one day turn into a tee shot, but certainly not all tee shots are approach shots. What can be defined as an approach shot for you will be changed by your skill level and your distance potential. Your skill level is going to change the more you play disc golf and the longer you play disc golf, and your distance potential could be affected by a multitude of factors that isn't always how long you've been playing disc golf. For instance, if I take Will Shoestrick, a United States disc golf champion, and I ask him what range he feels like he's throwing approach shots, he's probably going to say most shots 300 feet and in. Because for him and his distance, 300-foot shots become routine. But for John Smith, who isn't a professional and United States disc golf champion, 300 feet is a max distance shot for him, which means that it's not an approach because for him to reach 300 feet would be a full power shot. Approaches are all about control, and we want to teach you in this series how to utilize that control to take strokes off of your game and allow you to be as consistent and confident as possible. So we want to start today, if we're talking about approaches, with the comfort circle. The comfort circle is the idea or position around the basket where you believe that you can make 85 to 90% of your putts. We're not talking in a vacuum or in a, I think I can make this. We're talking cold, hard stats. Where do you believe you can make 85 to 90% of your putts? And I'll tell you, the common answer that people give me is 20 feet. And I do believe that for most casual disc golfers, 20 feet is not their true comfort circle. Because often when people tell me this, I'll line them up at the basket and put the pressure on and say, all right, I want you to go ahead and make 10 putts. But Mr. YouTube, man, there's so much pressure there. I don't know what to do. This is the exact reason that we create a comfort circle. We want to know where you, when the pressure's on, feel that you're going to make lots of putts. And we don't shame people for the size of the comfort circle, especially here. If your comfort circle is 8 feet away from the basket, then awesome. This is the information we want to know as it is the basis for all of our approaches. So here, I'm about 150 feet away from the basket. And as these gentlemen close out, I want to tell you about, I've got the Prodigy PA series and A series here that I want to highlight and showcase during this because the PA stands for putt and approach and the A stands for approach. Prodigy has a curated lineup of discs that can absolutely help you dial in your approach and putting game, and with so many options available in the lineup and a ton of different plastic, they have every tool you need to help you have the right toolbox to attack every single course and approach situation that you find yourself in. And at the time of making this, they've just released this 400 ultra soft plastic, and I truly believe this is arguably top 3 feeling plastics on the market. I love how this feels, and especially in the cold weather, it allows me to have the tackiness and the grip and that flexibility for me to really dig in to give me that confidence on those approach shots. But why do we talk about the comfort circle? Oftentimes when people are throwing their approaches, we take sort of the Mel Gibson approach, aim small, miss small. So we aim for the basket. The problem is when you're throwing an approach to the basket, the miss becomes so much wider. I've got 6 shots here. What I'm gonna try to do is on these approaches, like lots of players who have not worked on their approach game, I'm going to try to put this disc in the basket and just throw it as accurately as possible at the basket. But you can see here, that one gets away from me. These are all landing very close, throwing right at the basket. But as I'm throwing them at the basket, they're all scooting and going quite a bit away from the bucket, which is leaving me with some longer approaches and putts than maybe I want. We threw 6 approach shots and grabbing these fractal PA3s. We've got 1 that's in the bucket. We've got 2. These were both about 12 to 15 feet away from the basket. Our 4th one lands here. And you can see the wind's really picking up, which means I don't want to leave myself long putts and looks at this basket. All right, we're able to convert on 4 of the putts so far, but our first 2 approaches went pretty far away from the basket. One ended up all the way back here in the woods, so I'm gonna have to make a really long, obstructed putt in order to save this. That A3 landed all the way back here. And in this type of wind, that's just not a putt that I'm really gonna be able to make very often. And if I'm throwing an approach, which isn't a full power tee shot, that means most often I'm either laying up so that I can secure a par or I'm missing a birdie opportunity. But what if just simply using this basket as a point of reference or aim point wasn't the right way to necessarily go about it? What if we had a larger area, which would not only give us confidence in our ability to hit that area, but also repeatability because it's not such a small, tiny defined target. And this is where the comfort circle comes in. Once again, how I'm going to find my comfort circle is I'm going to take putters. This is fractal plastic, which is a base 300 soft fractal, this explosion in it. I mean, this is not one of the prettiest base plastics that exists. And I'm simply gonna throw several putts from different distances until I find, okay, cool. I feel like I can consistently make it from right here. So I then measure it out. So I start at the basket and I work my way backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we'll say about 12 feet. That's my comfort circle. So I'm then going to place a cone and I'm going to work my way all the way around the basket. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's head back to our approach point and show you what a difference of a target this makes. Now, if Side Guy zooms in, you'll see that there is just a very large circle of cones around the basket. Now, I can make putts from 12 feet on either side of the basket, which means that the total diameter of the circle comes out to 24 feet all the way across. Suddenly, instead of trying to hit this tiny target that's only a few feet wide, my area that I'm aiming for drastically increases, which means all I'm trying to do on an approach is I'm at worst trying to land inside the circle so that I know with 85 to 90% confidence I can make a putt. You'll see something that happens in disc golf where when your putt is on, it takes the pressure off of other parts of your game because suddenly I don't have to put the shot so close to the basket because I know I'm gonna make the putt. And that's exactly the confidence that we're building here, is that I take pressure off of the approach because I'm so used to aiming and hitting my comfort circle that it feels somewhat simple. So now whether I'm using the A series that I know has some reliable fade to it that I can hang wide and let it crash back in towards the basket, or if I take the PA series where I can actually take a much more direct approach at the basket. Now I do want to use the PA5s to sort of demonstrate an additional theory about the comfort circle. With these, I'm trying to run them straight at the basket, just like I did with the rest of the PA series, but I'm gonna give them a little more height because I want them to have a chance of going into the bucket. You can see all of those were just a little bit high, but had the opportunity to maybe ring up the chains. Unfortunately, most of them landed outside of the comfort circle. So while your comfort circle is going to give you the confidence of, hey, if I just land inside of this circle, I make 85 to 90% of my putts. Well, the positives is that if we go a little bit outside of that, you may make 80% of your putts, 75% of your putts, and 75% is still a really good putting percentage. So while yes, even in this wind, embracing the idea of the comfort circle, I'm able to get, of the 5 shots that we just simply aimed for my comfort circle, the furthest one away was about 11 feet, which was at the edge of my comfort circle, but still well inside. I'm able to convert on all of these. But even if we go to the PA5s that we gave a little more height to, that happen to end up outside of the circle. It's not that I'm not allowed to make putts from outside of my comfort circle. They just may not have the same high percentage conversions that I know and expect out of putts inside of my comfort circle. Here, I'm not even putting with the PA3s. We're gonna go PA5 approach, PA5 putt. As you experiment with the comfort circle, you're going to find sort of how far past you can push till it becomes a hope and a prayer. And at that point, we know that that may be a little too aggressive in an approach for you to throwing at the basket. Just go back to aiming for the comfort circle. I can promise you, if you start aiming for the comfort circle, you're going to watch as at least 2 to 3 strokes a round are shaved off of your game, simply leaning into this aiming method. But Mr. YouTube man, my comfort circle is so small. How do I get it larger? Because that way I don't end up having to be so precise on my approaches. Well, that's the best part, ladies and gentlemen. The more you practice your putting and the more confident of a putter you become, the larger this comfort circle becomes. And the larger your comfort circle becomes, the easier it's going to be to throw approaches that matter. Now, I'll give one last tip if you want to take this exercise to a whole other level. Here, my comfort circle is at about 12 feet away from the basket on all sides, and this is probably where most people are going to find their comfort circles at when it comes to the game. If you want to make this drill even harder but allow you to get more out of it, then what I would do is I would take your comfort circle, whatever this fixed distance is, and I would move it in by a step, 2 to 3 feet, and shrink your entire comfort circle down even tighter. The reason for this is mental confidence. You know your comfort circle, you can make 85 to 90% of your putts, which means if you can consistently land in a comfort circle that's even smaller than yours, you're gonna have even more confidence on your approaches, which also allows you to get more aggressive and practicing like we show with those PA5 shots. Results matter in disc golf, and if you're trying to throw a certain shot and you're unable to do so, it's going to create some frustration and some tension between you and the tools you're choosing of which to throw. But if we can simply adjust where we're aiming, our tools become more efficient and our confidence begins to soar to new heights. So that is gonna wrap things up for today's video. I hope this was helpful in helping you start the journey towards becoming a more effective approach thrower in the game of disc golf. But aiming is just the beginning. We want to give you the techniques and tools that you can use to help ramp up and empower your disc golf approach game. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to thank Prodigy for believing in this series and help give us the tools that we can use to help educate y'all and help you improve your game one stroke at a time. With all that being said, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.